Welcome to the Porsche Club Insider, your one stop for all things Porsche and PCA. Here's your host, Vu Gwyn, and the Insider crew.
Well, happy Halloween, everyone. It's episode 34 of Porsche Club Insider. I'm at the table with Manny and Damon. And of course, Robert is behind the computers making it all happen as usual. And I think we might have a special guest come through at the last 15 minutes or so.
Yes, of our own Jim Hemig. After all the changes in F1, I asked him to come on, so he's going to talk about that and some other predictions he has about next year in Porsche and racing.
Now, is there a spark of life in Jim? Because
he
almost gave up on F1.
Yes, he didn't watch a couple races. He swore off Red Bull. Thankfully he didn't get a tattoo, because for a while there I thought he was going to get a Red Bull tattoo.
So close.
Yeah, so now he's all bright-eyed and bushy-tailed because there's hope again. Hopefully it's not false hope, but it's like I'm wondering if this is all done for Drive to Survive, to make next
more the drama,
more drama, exactly.
Yeah.
But he's falling for it.
It might be. Well, before we get into it all, I just want to remind everyone, if you would, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe on whatever platform you're listening to. I also want to thank Eagle Gurney 500 and Ian. They're constantly on commenting and liking, so I appreciate you guys doing that. And they threw out an idea, and for those listeners, I don't know, would this be of interest to you? Would you be interested if we made some Porsche Club Insider t-shirts or hats or decals? Let us know, because if there's some interest, I might be able to make that happen.
Maybe on the back we can put In-N-Out fries do suck.
We'd have to make two versions.
They don't.
So speaking of verses, I was in Las Vegas for my brother's bachelor party, and we had a versus of Raising Cane's chicken tenders versus Popeye's chicken tenders.
I have not had either.
Really?
I ate Popeyes, but just the regular.
I'm not sure if
chicken.
I've ever had either.
Really?
I go to Chick-fil-A, but Popeyes is
there a Raising Cane around here?
Chick-fil-A is way behind. Way behind.
Yeah, well, so my excuse is that whenever a friend who likes Popeyes comes over and he's got Popeyes, he says, "Oh man, I waited in line for like 20 minutes in the drive-thru," and it's like every single time he goes there. So
there's a reason.
Yeah, that's
amazing.
Not me. I'm not going to wait in line for Popeyes.
Because no one from Popeyes, or for that matter, any other fast food has like stolen someone from Chick-fil-A out. Because I got to hand it to Chick-fil-A. I know they are very controversially political with some of the stuff and that I don't agree with, but it's hard to beat their chicken sandwich. And just watching their drive-thru, it's just amazing how these people
I will
spicy chicken deluxe.
I will give them, they are the logistic stars of fast food, but when it comes to the chicken sandwich, once again, even if it's Chick-fil-A sandwiches versus Popeyes chicken sandwich, I still give it to Popeyes.
I love Popeyes, but they're not consistent. And some Popeyes are awesome, and some at least phone it in.
I would agree there.
Yeah,
I would agree there.
It's a little bit of an adventure sometimes. I'm just telling everyone else in the fast food industry, as someone who has sat in many drive-thrus, get your act together and go to Chick-fil-A and try to figure out why they do it so well.
It's so difficult to find good people. Remember when we were on the road trip, we went to Taco Bell, you had to have a taco, and it took you like 30 minutes to get a taco because there was one person working the store?
Yeah, like I knew that was going to happen.
But yet you were still standing in line 30 minutes later waiting for that one taco.
Let's leave after 15 minutes to the next fast food place. And we were kind of in a food desert where I was.
We were.
You were dropping me off
at. Car stuff. I didn't do much car stuff this past weekend. I was actually, as I mentioned, in Vegas for my brother's bachelor party.
Well, it wasn't really a bachelor party. It was from the photos I saw on Facebook. That was your family reunion.
That's hilarious because the best man literally said that. He's like, I so got hustled because I was brought here under the pretenses of it being a bachelor party, but it turned out just being a Gwyn family reunion. And here's a photo of several of us on the water, and it's my type of bachelor party. It was fun and it was more family. That's my grandmother. grandmother,
Yeah.
grandma is in the middle, and they're like, "What
Is
the
she
heck?"
the one that stole all the money from me in poker?
Yeah, she's the one that
Okay.
took your money at the poker table. I did do some I did an oil change on. We've been talking about my Ducati a lot lately, but this little tool that I bought on Amazon, it's like a flexible piece of rubber, and the way the oil drains from the engine case, it actually like falls right on top of the exhaust. So I bought this little thing. I forgot where I saw it, but I bought it, and you can bend it around and guide the oil down to your oil pan, and for like $5 or $6 or something like that. It's kind of a cool
Something
tool.
I could use for a couple of my cars, not the Porsche, but
Yeah, no,
the
any car.
Camry. The oil filter is right above the subframe and the front engine mount. So
Exactly.
you just drape that over instead
Yep.
of.
Don't you want to be in the meetings when they discuss this, when they're engineering the car? But who's the guy that says, "Oh, screw it, it's the service guy's problem. We got
Yeah.
this figured out."
Oh, yeah.
Because somewhere, it's not just a Toyota or
No.
Porsche. It's like everyone.
Oh, yeah.
Subaru.
Yeah.
I changed my daughter's boyfriend's help, showing him how to change the oil.
It's
on it.
easier to change
It's
oil
terrible.
in my Cayman compared to my Golf or the Camry because the oil filter is literally just
it's
right
straight
there on the
down.
bottom.
Right.
Yeah. But the
Boom.
911, the air-cooled 911,
Yeah. Oh man, I wouldn't
what the
want
heck?
to.
Oh yeah, inside the fender on the
Yes.
side there.
Not only that, but they're big oil filters.
Yeah.
too.
Yes, and
So-
then you have the air conditioner compressor now.
Yeah.
And you got to, while you're trying to like snake it through, all the oil's pouring out. It's
Got to do this real quick,
Yeah, do
right?
it real-
1, 2. No, it's not. gonna
German
work.
engineering my
5,
butt.
10 seconds later.
What the heck?
Yeah, like even our Honda Odyssey, the oil filter's right on top of the subframe, and when you loosen it, the oil goes like 10 different directions. So, anyways, this is a cool little tool. If you don't have it, you might want to add it to your toolbox.
Awesome.
Now, Manny, you had actually a fulsome car weekend, right?
Yeah, well, yeah. On Sunday actually, was Saturday. We all, except for Damon, he got lucky he didn't have to. We had to come in here and present to the executive committee. It was in.
Oh, right.
They have quarterly meetings.
Right.
I wish I could tell you they're fun, having been on the other side. But these who are all volunteers, they all give up a weekend. When I say give up, it's really you're sitting in a conference room. It doesn't matter if you're in Las Vegas or Monaco. You are in a conference room from 8 o'clock to 6 o'clock, and just discussing topics, listening to presentations, participating in remote calls. It's a lot of work. It's hopefully they have fun. I know when I was president, we still had fun in the meetings, but a lot of the office people had to make presentations for 2023 what we're planning to do, and if we have budget requests. So luckily, I was here from. I got really screwed. I thought I was being smart, and I said to Laura, our office manager, I said, "Hey, just schedule me for the last one on the presentations, because I'll shoot over to Cars and Coffee, hang out there till like 10:30, then shoot down here, and I'll be in time for my 11:30 spot." And then we did 1 mile review, and I was talking to Scott, and Scott says, "Oh, Cars and Coffee's canceled this week.
Oh, it was?
Yeah, they're doing an Alzheimer's walk."
Oh.
Which in itself, I had a lot of jokes from that. But they
Please
inappropriate.
please do not be inappropriate at this time.
Just one.
No, just this time. So not that I'm looking for sympathy, but this was the first time ever that I've missed an
I was
EC,
surprised when they said you
meeting
weren't gonna be
because
there.
there's only so many weekends that we can choose from, and this was one where most of EC could come to HQ for the meeting. So thankfully, I figured that we were probably going to be out late at night, so that means we're probably not doing anything in the morning. So
You got a 3 hour.
I have a 3 hour, kind of buffer. So 8 o'clock meeting here means 5 a.m. start in Vegas. That means I can probably go easily into noon before I have to sign off. So yes, that's true. But the little bit that I forgot was the fact that I too would be out the evening before. So the first for Saturday, it wasn't so bad because I was only up until like 2 o'clock or so, and then I had the 5 a.m. Teams call. But the Sunday one was a tough one because we went out.
See, not so bad. Only I got 3 hours of sleep. Yeah, that was enough. I don't know how you do it, Boo.
So Saturday night, we literally came through the door at 4 a.m.
Oh, boy.
And I just kind of leaned back in the chair for like 45 minutes, and then I got ready for my meeting at 5. and we went 5.5 hours both days at least.
Wow.
Yeah, I was here from 9:30 to I think I left at around 1 o'clock when all was said and done. But I wasn't in a meeting the whole time. I just I think mine was about an hour, maybe long. But yeah, you were kind of quiet. I was wondering.
No, I mean, there's a lot going on. It's different when you're remote, and remote can work, but the interaction in person is always much better. But honestly, what kept me awake is we've got a lot of exciting stuff, not only to report from this year in terms of growth and all the programs that we put on, but next year is gonna. And we've said this before on the show. Next year is just gonna be an amazing year with all sorts of stuff going on, and that's what kept me awake, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I put my wish list for Rensport and capturing content, so they were pretty excited about that. So anyway, that was Saturday was not a car thing for me, but Sunday was our my region, Chesapeake region, does this event. It used to be 3 days, and they've compacted it down to 1 day, called the Chesapeake Challenge. And it's
That was pretty recent then, because I think when I did it like 3 years ago, it was still a 2 or 3 day thing.
it's been about almost 10 years.
10 years?
Yeah.
Is that the
So
longest?
What was I
running?
doing for?
I believe it's the longest running, yeah.
Longest
We
running
had
event
like
in
2
PCA?
years where they had to cancel it.
COVID?
But, no, laziness.
I hope it wasn't
There-
recent.
The president didn't want to do it, and
There's the car show one day, and then the rally another, then any cross.
No, you're
or
probably thinking of something. So they used to do a welcome party Friday night. Then Saturday was the concourse. Sunday was the rally. Saturday was the concourse and rally. Then Sunday was the autocross, and then there was a victory lunch afterwards.
So I did that like 3 years ago. I'm pretty sure. 3 days.
They haven't done the autocross in a while.
Cam Ingram. Well, I have pictures. I have proof.
No, you may have autocross, but it wasn't part of Chesapeake Challenge.
They were going
No,
back. They were going
actually,
backwards.
you know what? You're right.
They were going backwards.
You're right. It was a. We did do. He's right.
Oh,
He's got
yeah?
better memory than us.
Oh.
So
So
when he
it's
said
o-
Cam Ingram, we did a. It wasn't an autocross. It was Gymkhana.
Oh,
Jim Connor, yeah,
Jim
because we were going
Connor.
backward.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
had like an egg or something, or a
Oh yeah,
ping pong ball.
How
on
could
top
you
of
think
our-
that's an autocross? That's a
I didn't know what to
Gymkhana.
call. I call it an any cross.
Any
And that's
cross.
not really
No, that's
an
not
any
Jim
cross
Connor.
either.
Not used much in
Gymkhana.
vocabulary.
there we go.
Yeah, you're right. We had Cam Ingram as a guest, and they did do it because we were telling the new people who run the region how it used to be done. And, it used to be a 3-day event.
So that was a pretty recent change.
So
huh?
yep, you're right. I totally.
There
forgot
aren't that
about
many Gymkhanas anymore.
No, yeah.
No.
I remember doing a Gymkhana. I think it was Central New York region, and some of the stuff that we did was probably not the safest. I mean, it was all low speed, but like you said, put an egg, driving like blindfold, and
Yeah,
doing
stuff that's
some.
on the screen is not the Chesapeake Challenge. That's 1 mile review
Oh, okay.
stuff.
Yep.
Anyway, so we did the Chesapeake Challenge, and we it was about 45 minutes from the house. So we went down. We caravan down with a fairly new member, one of my daughter's employees.
Oh, the guy that
Nathan.
got the Boxster.
Yeah, he just bought
nice.
a few months ago. Bought a Boxster autocross with it and wanted to do this, and just like any new member, he doesn't really know anybody yet. And,
Yeah.
And being 23 is the youngest.
That's
so,
awesome.
I was originally going to do the rally with my wife, and then Bob Gutyar was solo. So he said, "You want to do the rally again? We're defending champions." So I'm like, I asked my wife. I said, "How much do you want to do the rally?" And she said, "Well, actually, said Nathan wants to do it. Why don't I do it with him and you do it with Bob?" So perfect.
Wow, you got a
nice.
pass because literally you were ditching your wife.
Yes. Yeah. Well, she knows the way we rally. She's very competitive, and she gets mad because I tend to suffer from ADD in rallies, so I'm not paying attention for clues and whatnot.
I'm
She
the
gets
worst
mad.
at rallies.
So Bob's doing all the work.
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah. Although this rally was much nicer, but so it didn't rain too much. It rained a little bit in the morning, just spitting enough to everybody who took it seriously. In fact, there's a picture on the screen right now. It looks like Steve Wood in his red turbos having a
Picnic?
yard sale.
A yard sale.
I told him I was going to put tags for pricing on his. I picked up his air pump and asked his wife, "Hey, Joan, how much you want for the air pump?"
Nice.
But he takes it very seriously, and he ended up winning Best in Show. So that was my competition in my class, was was Steve and his beautiful 91 turbo that's just totally
You might as well pack up if you know he's going to
immaculate,
show
top
up.
and bottom. He's
Oh,
had
yeah.
the whole bottom dry ice.
Yeah.
The car is just museum
Yeah,
quality.
he was telling me about that. They've owned it for quite a long time now, I think, and they got it when it was good to get those cars.
When I found out that when I first met him, I saw Powerhouse, and there used to be a tuning shop in Jersey called that, and I
Yeah.
figured that he had the car done there, and that's
Oh, it's not that?
he just called it. That was a nickname for the car. And he
Powerhouse?
said- yeah, he said a
I
lot
thought
of
it was
people would come
modified by
up.
Powerhouse.
That's what everybody thinks. He says they come,
Oh.
and all this time I thought it was just modified by Powerhouse. Evidently, they're not in business anymore. He said.
Is it stock?
No, it's been modified.
Oh, just not by Chesapeake stock.
It's Vu stock, right?
But it's a beautiful example.
Yeah.
I mean, Steve is so fastidious with his cars. Even his trailer, everything is just so detailed. And so I knew there was no first place in that class. And Terrell and Laurie just bought a 89 Targa.
Oh,
So they took second. And luckily, I took third out of 3 cars.
yeah. You didn't have the last bit of information. Should have kept
But
to yourself.
we did. They did for the first time works classes for after works reunion, and it seemed like the entrants who did it and the judges liked it. We got to hear the stories, and the stories made a big difference because the first class we judged, I would not have picked the winning car just from looking at it because it was a tough class, but the story. So basically, the long and short of it is that the owner bought the car in '04. It was a '97, I think, or '98 C4 S and 993 with the aero kit, factory aero
nice.
kit, yeah. And he bought it, sold it in '04. I'm probably getting the story wrong with the dates, but he sells it once. Then he starts looking for it again. He's keeping track of it, or where it is, and who owns it. But in between, he has I think it was a bike accident. Not sure if it was motorcycle or bicycle.
Oh.
But leaves him partially paralyzed.
Oh, yikes.
And basically, he said the doctors told him the prognosis was not good for him ever to walk again or whatnot. He's still looking at this car. He buys it while he's still in a wheelchair. Buys it back.
What?
Sees it goes for sale. Buys it back.
Motivation.
And this is a stick shift car. It's not like
Yeah.
a Tiptronic.
Oh yeah, that's motivation. Right
Yeah,
there.
and he said when it arrived, he went up to the car in his wheelchair, got out, climbed in, and it took him like forever, but he drove it around the block. And he said when he brought it back, his wife refused to believe that he actually drove it, but he did. And he still had
Wow.
limited use of his hands and whatnot. But we were like the 4 judges that were there. We were just in total awe listening to this story. We're like, wow, this really changed the whole perspective of ownership and the car.
Sure.
And so that was it. So when we,
So did he recover? He's able to drive it like normal now?
he still had limited use of his hands, but he drives it. I mean, he drove it there.
Really?
Yeah, I mean,
Wow.
God bless. I mean,
That's
a
so
true
inspirational.
enthusiast.
Yeah.
And I believe he's a podiatrist, so he's also a doctor.
Oh, wow.
And it's really fascinating.
Good for him.
So we had 2 teams of works judges, and when David Ducart was the head of the other judging team, and we were comparing notes to see who would have won best in show and works. And when I told him about it, he knew the owner, and because Dave's wife is a doctor as well. And anyway, as soon as I said his name, he's like, nope, I've heard that story. He's like, he deserves to win. So that was a great story. But I think all the owners like telling about how they got their car, and everyone has a story.
Sure.
So it was pretty fascinating. Then we had lunch there, and then we did the rally. And so the rally was done by Aniana, who usually does our tours, and Bob, or my navigator, he can be very critical of rallies because, that's Bob.
That's just Bob.
And so this rally I thought was really cool. It was you had 6 destinations you had to get to, and it was a it was a gimmick rally. So when you got there, you had to answer some questions, and I'll tell you what, we had to take some selfies, but I'll tell Robert not to show the pictures yet. And so we had to send the driver had to take a selfie in front of the sign of the destination, and you weren't told what order you had to go in, but the person with the lowest mileage got bonus points. Not the quickest, but the lowest mileage.
Lowest mileage.
So you got these, and I'm not from around there. Bob's not really from around there. So they told us as soon as you start the rally, when you get onto the main road, it's probably best to pull over and take a look at where all these 6 destinations are and try to figure out how you can go. And by the way, you got to get done in exactly 2 hours. Anything over, every minute over, you start to lose like a point.
What about if you come in early?
Same thing.
Really?
You come in too early, you lose a point.
Oh, wow.
And so we went. I let Bob do it because I figured it's going to take us a half hour arguing to see which direction we should go. So I'll let him
Isn't he like in military logistics deployment or something?
Yes, and if anybody hears military intelligence will start laughing. And, evidently there's an inside joke about that. I was not in the military, but it's always a joke. But Bob, God bless him, he was really, and he asked me, he looks at me, he goes, "Did you bring a map with you?" And I looked at him, I go, "Why the hell would I carry a paper map?
Do they still make maps?
Who uses paper maps?"
My dad does, I can tell you that.
I'm like, that was like the time he asked me, "Did you bring an extra 914 Target top with you?" Because it was about to rain, and he left his at home. And I'm like, man, why would I bring an extra Target top in my car? Anyways, so I did not have a paper map. So he's trying to look on his phone, and he picked a route, and off we went. Took us about 20 minutes, and the long and short of it is we were like we came out 20 minutes late.
Oh, late.
We thought we were like butt last.
Oh.
Well, we took our selfies. I'm not a selfie person. If you look at my social media, there's no selfies of me. So that was me.
Oh, God.
That was the first one I had to take.
Oh,
that's actually Nathan
that's
behind
Nathan,
me.
the young,
yeah. That's me sending it to the...
Oh, there you go.
So that's we had to find these
Voo-style
signs.
Yeah.
Got to see some stuff I've never seen before. That was a dealer. That was pretty
That's
cool.
a dealer,
So
yeah.
that's Porsche of Annapolis, and Brett let us all in. He brought people in just to welcome us. And the region didn't realize he was going to do this. So,
Oh, cool.
Yeah, we came in. He came out, and he was like, "If you guys want to use the bathroom, there's snacks." And
Nice.
I was like, so we lost like 15 minutes talking to Brett. He actually had a Turbo GT they were going to deliver, a Cayenne.
Oh, wow.
Inside.
Brett's a great guy.
So there were 6 spots. There's Bob. I forgot what he was looking for on the...
He looks so intense.
he was intense.
Meanwhile, you're taking selfies.
Yeah, so...
That's hilarious.
So I'm sending these selfies to Aniano because he said, send them and put underneath of it, put your name. So I put on there, Manny Alvin, in front of Blue Star Memorial, Manny Alvin, at this...
I'm laughing because I know this part, but
So-
Boo doesn't.
So we get to the... we finish the rally, we hand it in. At this point, we're inside the banquet room, having hors d'oeuvres, and he comes over to me and goes, "Did you send me photos?" And I said, yeah. I said, because some of the places we were at had no cell reception. And I said, but no, I said, I looked, they all went through. Mm-hmm. And he goes, "What number did you send it to?" And because he said his number, but it was a lot of people joking, everything in a driver's meeting.
Oh, it wasn't printed? Tell me you didn't send
No,
it
it wasn't
to
printed. So I show him the phone number. He's like, "That's not my phone number."
So some random person has
Some
your
random
selfie?
person has my selfies in their possession.
Has your name in your selfies.
Luckily,
right?
I'm wearing clothes. I'm not anything compromising. But I'm probably thinking this old guy is on tour using a phone for the first time.
That's hilarious.
So I had to
my
reset.
God.
And Bob was freaking out because he thought we got disqualified. And in the end, to Bob's credit, because I was blaming him, because when we were 20 minutes late, I said he picked the wrong route.
Yeah.
And we actually came in second.
Oh, wow.
So had you not been delayed at Brett's, would you have come in first?
We probably would have come in first. But as we told the region president, we said, did you get the chance to chat with one of your sponsors? And he was like, "No, we never went inside."
Oh.
I was like, well, coming from the background of, you always talk to sponsors and
sure.
advertisers.
Absolutely.
I said, when he wanted us to come in, I wasn't going to say, no, we got to win this rally.
I'm sure that was a trap of some sort
Yeah.
that they
Well,
set in advance.
So, like I said, he had drinks and snacks. And so, of course, Bob, he comes back with he raided the entire Oreo cookie. They had 6 packs of Oreo cookie, and he goes, "I'm bringing some snacks." I go, "Well, you're not going to eat in my car." He's like, "What?" And I'm like, and the sales lady there's laughing. And I'm like, "There's no way you're going to eat these Oreo cookies." I said, "The next stop you can eat it out, but you're not going to come back in with any crumbs."
Oh, my God.
And he was shocked that I was not going to let him eat Oreo cookies in the 964.
That's hilarious.
So in the end, we went second. Bob, we had a tech quiz, which was done by Randy Richter and Jim Robeck. I think Randy did most of it. It was about 4 doors, and oh my God, it was so hard. They're going to print it in a newsletter, but wow.
Wait, tech quiz. You're our tech director.
I know, the pressure.
Yeah.
The
How did
pressure.
you perform?
I won.
Oh, thank
I
goodness.
won with a 42%.
You could have stopped right at you won. 42%.
It was very hard. I really didn't think I was going to win. It was.
So what were the kinds of questions?
It was it's a ton of questions where they're multiple choice, but the multiple choice are very close to each other.
They all seem right.
So it was like how many variations of the Panamera was there in such and such year? 20, 21, 22, 23.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
It's not
So
obvious.
you're like,
There's more than that, I believe. Like right now, there's got to be more than 20.
I don't know.
See, who knows?
so you
right?
would have gotten it
Yes.
wrong too.
Yeah.
Well, that's like the parade historical tech quiz. I mean, we all are around this stuff and we think we know stuff, but when you take those quizzes, man, I feel
Well,
so
parade
inadequate.
was easier because that does have general, and that's,
Oh, yeah,
the general
yeah.
at least makes people feel good because a lot of them are
Who is
I'm not gonna
president
say
of PCA?
softball questions, but they're stuff that people should know if they've
Right.
watched a couple of Porsche videos. But these model specific one with the 4-door, I think Randy was trying to make us all feel really stupid, which he succeeded because
Evil genius.
they had one that was basically dead last. It was called potential for most improvement, and I think that person had 12 right, and I had 21 right. So
Oh, that's not that big of a spread.
no, it was a lot of pressure because I said if we can't publish the results if I don't win this. So, anyways, it was a fun time at the challenge.
Nice.
How about you, Damon? Did you autocross again?
I autocrossed and
With who?
Chesapeake region. So it was their last.
Their
of the
last
season.
one.
Yeah, so we had I don't know exactly how many drivers, but a good amount for Chesapeake Autocross. A lot of fast people there, and it was sunny. It was a little cold in the morning, which for some people maybe not a ton of traction off the line, but if you were on Yokohama's, you didn't have too much of an issue with that.
Oh boy.
Yeah,
Are you
so-
autocrossing this weekend?
Yep, I'll be going to Potomac, so that'll finish out their season as well. Yeah, Chesapeake, I got to instruct as well. I've never been an instructor, and this year I was asked to be an instructor. So for the past couple autocrosses, I've done a little bit of that, and for this one, there was a guy named Chris who brought his Mazda CX-5.
Oh, I saw that.
To the autocross.
I saw that.
So,
And I heard he wasn't the slowest.
I wasn't looking at the times by that point of the day, except for the people who were, in my class or close to me. But he was getting, I think, within 10 seconds, I think less than 10 seconds, to some of the top groups of people, which in an SUV for his very first autocross was really impressive.
Is it
And,
CX-5 or CX-9?
CX-5
So like the smaller SUV.
a little bit smaller.
Yeah.
So he has a CX-7, which is bigger, but he didn't bring that. But he had always wanted to autocross, had wanted to get a car that he felt was appropriate for autocross, and then he just thought to himself, you know what, I'm just going to go do it.
Good for him.
So he brought it out, and every run he improved, and it was pretty fun,
Yeah.
to instruct somebody. At
I always say
their first autocross.
if you autocross in an SUV, it's like a win-win.
Yeah.
If you're slow, hey, I'm in an SUV. But if you're faster than
Exactly.
anyone, you're like, hey, I'm in an
Yeah.
SUV.
Yeah, sort of like a diesel Golf.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
It's always good. It's always good to. I always look at the results every run with my students to show them how what we were working on improved their time.
Sure.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
doing this cut off 5 or 6 seconds, and I found that it's a great motivator because they start to trust the instructor and believe what they're saying, and they see their improvement, even if they're dead last. They see
Yeah.
how much they're cutting off time wise.
And they get to experience, pushing their vehicle a little bit further,
Yep.
to the edge and seeing how it understeers or oversteers and
Yep.
really using the brake. So, yeah, good for them.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. So, yeah, it was nice to finish that part of the autocross season off, and then Potomac next weekend, and then the car goes in. Wouldn't say for hibernation, but if you were listening to the last autocross, I have an oil change and a crank seal to replace. So it'll be down probably for a little bit.
Well,
Yeah,
good
I'm-
time for
obviously,
projects.
I missed the Chesapeake Autocross because I was presenting to EC, but you guys definitely got the better weather.
Yeah, it
between
was beautiful.
Saturday and
A little
Sunday.
cold, but it warmed up to like 70 degrees,
Yeah,
I
Ken
think.
Wilmer sent some photos. I didn't see if Robert was showing them or not, but
Yep.
yeah, he was out there getting back into photography, and Ken's our membership chair for Chesapeake.
He's a funny guy. I like Ken.
Yep.
All right, let's talk about. We haven't shown our Mart Fresh picks or talked about them on.
This wasn't for sale yet when I started writing. I write mine a little on Mondays usually.
All right, so let's talk about what did.
So that was Rob's car.
Rob
that he
picked.
Yeah, 2009 Carrera S.
This
so-
is like putting a easy bait in front of Rob.
Yeah.
I could pick out what cars he's going to pick.
Yeah.
And he loves 997s.
Yep.
Yep.
And it's got like sort of like R stripes on it, right?
Yeah.
I love
Yeah,
the R
it looks
stripes.
like an R
good
sort of car. Yeah, it looks like light mods.
And you picked Manny. You picked a 996, a very special color.
Yeah,
996.
and ironically, to Chesapeake Challenge, we were talking to someone about, he was asking us about what kind of car he should buy, and he was talking about the Millennium. Bob was pushing the Millennium, and then when I saw one, I thought, and here's a good way to get into, if you want a 911 that just is a little bit more special than a regular 911, then you look for special edition models. And the Millennium, of course, was a 2000 model. But what was unique about it was the violet chroma flare,
yeah.
which changes from like green to, I guess,
Green and purple, and a little bit of gold,
yeah, depending on how
the
you're
light.
looking at it, the sunlight.
Yeah.
And I looked on Rainbow, which is our color website, rainbow.org, right, Damon?
Yep.
Yep, rainbow.org.
That has it at 5 paint cans, which is the rarest of the rare. So that's if you want also a color that is going to stand out at a Cars and Coffee or any event. I put in my little write-up for Mart Fresh that you better get used to telling people what color it is, because
Yeah.
you're going to be asked that question a lot.
But
what
not only
color
is the color on that car handsome on the outside, but the unique tan color that's on the inside.
like natural brown interior.
Yeah, it's like a darker
caramel color.
Caramel color.
Yeah, so it's it's a car that I wouldn't say it's been ignored, but it's a very affordable way to get into a special 911 with the 996. And it's definitely a sharp looking car.
Yeah, it looks nothing like that color if you look at it from another angle or a different light. So it looks dark now if you're watching on YouTube. But if I remember correctly, seeing Bob's at a previous parade, and Bob's son, I believe, has one
Well,
as
they
well.
have the-
Well, they have a
40th
40th anniversary.
It's not a Millennium.
Yeah, it's not a
okay,
Millennium.
never mind.
God help you if you make that mistake in front of him.
Oh boy,
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, you dare me? I will. I'll take one for the team.
Walk up and say, "It's a great Millennium, Bob."
Now, Damon, you picked a pretty loud-looking car.
Yeah, I've always loved the 924, 944, 968 family of the front-engine four-cylinder cars. I owned a 944 S2 at one point, and I loved it. You know, the 3-liter inline four, huge engine for a four-cylinder. It used to be and might still hold the record for biggest naturally aspirated four-cylinder production engine in a production car.
I think so. Yeah.
I don't think anyone's tried to go for 3 liters in a production car since the 90s. But what the 968 adds is VarioCam, which is, you know, for those who aren't familiar, just think of it as Porsche's VTEC, but before Honda had VTEC, I believe. So Porsche was also the first to do the cam timing thing. So 236 horsepower, super quick car, 6-speed manual, limited slip differential. And then if you go for the Club Sport version, you're getting lighter weight. They take some of, as we found out in a 1 mile review, some of the electronic switches, like for the rear hatch, they replace it with a cable. So they're doing some lightening or light weighting of this car, and they give it the sportier suspension. And it can now be imported to the U.S. because it falls within the 25-year rule. So we're starting to see more of these on this side of the pond. And this one guards red wheels, and it's a driver. It has, I believe, 168,000 miles on it already.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, don't feel bad about driving it. You know,
Would
just
you
hop in
do
and-
what the UK did and put the Club Sport on the side?
Why not?
I think I would.
Yeah.
Just having a 968 at events is usually rare,
Yeah.
just because there wasn't that many made in the U.S. But a Club Sport is even more rare.
Yeah.
But you know, Porsche does things so subtle sometimes. a little sometimes too subtle for me.
Yeah.
And I really like the Club Sport
The
script.
Yeah.
It's the red wheels that give it away here, but
Yeah.
I'm sure not everybody has kept their red wheels, or maybe didn't option
Or
them
someone
that
with
way.
the regular 968 just put red wheels to give it that Club
Yeah,
Sport
exactly.
look.
Well,
Yeah.
when we were at the Audrain, we saw a Club Sport with like silver wheels, and
Yeah.
it doesn't jump out at you. I mean, the Club Sport that we did the 1 mile review with the speed yellow exterior also had the speed yellow wheels. Like having the color match wheels is definitely the way to
Yeah.
go, especially if it's a Club Sport. And
Yeah.
I too would do the Club Sport script.
Yeah, because it looks good. You know, script
It's
to me,
worthy
script
of it.
doesn't always work, but that does work. But also knowing me, when I buy a car, it usually stays looking the exact same, except for maybe lowering it. See, I still have the the hood chips in my car. I haven't replaced the little.
Yeah, and all the dirt that you collect
All
while
the
driving
dirt,
it, you keep it all.
it's all
You
still
never
there.
wash it.
Hey, original.
So I chose a 968 as well too, but I think mine was a phenomenal buy.
I was about to choose that.
That car was a black on black cab, which not everybody wants a cab, but for 17 or 17.8 or something like
Oh,
that,
that's a smoking deal.
It's a smoking
Yeah.
deal. It's got a repaint, but it's like only a 2-year-old repaint. It's a manual because most of the cabriolets, especially 968s that you see that are for sale, are typically Tiptronic. So here you are in the best iteration, manual drop top for a beautiful fall day for under $18,000. I
Yeah.
thought that was a smoking deal.
Yeah, 968s don't come much cheaper than that if they're in good working order nowadays.
But riddle me this one: the wheels that are on that 968, I don't think those are original 968 wheels.
No, they look like.
Boxster wheels, maybe.
That's what my first thought was Boxster.
Yeah, they don't look like,
They're not
unless it was an
96.
option, but the
No.
968 looked
Nope.
like the cups only
They
a
should be
little,
cup
little
ones,
bit different
right?
than the
They're
cups.
Cup 2s.
Are they cup
Cup
ones?
twos, yeah,
yeah.
that's what it is.
They would have been cup twos or
Yeah.
cup ones.
Well, they had so they had like and I can't remember the exact name of them, but they were 16-inch, and they looked like cups,
Yeah.
but the spokes were a little thinner, and they were easy to
okay.
spot because they were thinner, that they weren't 17-inch.
Yeah. I mean, these don't look bad. I just noticed that they didn't look stock. That's all.
Yeah.
But yeah, what a cool car for 18 grand.
Yeah.
All right, so you guys, while I was away, I think you recorded some 1 mile reviews, right?
Yeah, it was perfect day weather-wise, and we got. I finally got my 914, my 73 914.
Yes.
Which luckily Damon drove that before he drove the Turbo S, the 991. Otherwise, I'm sure he would have called it a really slow turd.
So how did you like the transmission?
I put on my Instagram. I put that these three combined cars have a combined 1,119 horsepower.
And yours only
Mine
yours
is
is a rounding error.
95 is mine.
So Damon, you drove it. What'd you think of the transmission?
So I've driven two 914s, and that's Manny's, and then I drove.
Rob's blue
Rob
one.
had his blue one, which
Yeah.
was a 74. It's a 74.
1.8.
Yeah, and it was the 1.8, which that was the weakest engine with 76 horsepower. Manny's has 95 horsepower and 116 pound-feet of torque. Same transmission, but it was actually pretty. I've always heard that. So let me back up a little bit. I'm getting a little jumbled here. So
Man,
the first
he's really
914.
setting this up.
So the 914s, the originals had the 901, which was a tail shifting transmission. And then to improve shift feel, that same 901 transmission received something called a side shifter
Side shift,
in
yep.
73.
Yep.
So Rob's had the side shifter, so does Manny's. Rob's felt it was probably the worst transmission, or at least gear shift that I've ever felt.
Let's hope the owner of that car is not listening.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm sure it's just like
he's improved
bushings
it.
or something, you know,
Yeah.
something simple. But it was more like you just kind of move the gear shift lever and hope it's
was
going
a
into the
guessing
right
game.
gear.
Yeah.
And I don't think there was a spring action. You get into Manny's car, and it was actually super easy to find all the gears. I did go from, what was it? So it's a dog leg. So 1, 2, 3. I went from third to fifth instead of second on a downshift.
Okay, as long as you didn't go from.
So I was kind of like, but the shifting gates felt really good compared
Yeah.
to Rob's car. So totally different experience.
It-
a lot more power. You need the 2-liter.
If you have the right bushings and
Yeah.
stuff and it's a well sorted transmission, it's not
Yep.
a modern transmission, but it's definitely
So mine has
reasonable to
a
drive.
real 70,000 miles. The car was a show car from new, I'm the third owner. I've owned it for almost 28 years. I bought it at 34,000 miles. So I told Damon, I said, this is the one that my last Porsche I'll ever sell, and everyone knows that because it's the original paint, original interior, it just has never been restored.
Yeah, it looks stunning.
Yeah, and it's just been maintained. And
You gotta let me fix those paint chips for you. You wear the.
I filled them in with.
You did?
Yeah, well, Pete Tremper gave me some paint before he left DuPont.
Oh, okay.
To match the. But it's a true 70,000 miles, and like I said, it's original paint. So you're driving it, you're going back in a time machine. And when I drove it down to work that morning in rush hour traffic, it was a little bit stressful because people don't see you.
Right.
And you're always in people's mirrors. And
there was traffic that day, if I remember.
And I felt like yelling out, you got a freaking light in your mirror telling you there's a car next to you.
Yeah.
What makes you want to pull over in my space?
Yeah. And you don't have a third brake light in that car.
No. And the brakes are low because back then that's how the lights were. They weren't high up. So it was a lot of looking in my mirrors to make sure that people were slowing down. They saw me. And it's becomes more stressful driving a car like that because it's never been repainted. It's original paint.
Yeah.
So if it gets hit or something, that originality disappears.
You know what I did on my car that you might want to consider doing? So in my
Taking it apart, not driving it for 20 years?
It hasn't been 20 years yet.
Just for that, I'm not going to share with you my tip and hope that you get rear-ended. No, just kidding.
LED lights. No, the flashing lights.
Yes,
But
yes.
I think that might anger some people.
Good. Then they know you're there.
Great.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
95 horsepower, you can't give someone the bird and take off.
No. It definitely works. It definitely works because people stay away. Yeah. So what I'm talking about is you can buy these replacement for your brake light bulbs, and I think 1156 or 1157, whatever your bulb type is. You can get an LED version of that also flashes upon initial.
Yeah.
Trigger, right? So you step on the brakes, it flashes 3 times, and then it goes solid like a regular brake light.
Strobe, it's really
they like
quick,
strobe, but they're really bright.
You get
they
your
really
attention.
They definitely get your
because
attention.
not many people have it, so when you see it, you're trying to figure out what the heck's going on.
Are his brake lights broken? And then you realize
that's telling you that he's braking, and because such an original car, you don't want to put a hokey third brake light in and stuff like that. But
usually the 914, it gets a lot of thumbs up on the highway. I'm sure they're looking at an old guy and thinking he bought this originally. I was 8 years old or 7 years old when this car was built or made. But it doesn't elicit any type of jealousy or.
Yeah.
And since you put gas, you have to lift up the front hood to put gas in because the tank's there. Every time I go to a gas station, I got people that come over.
Is everything okay?
Yeah, wondering why I'm dumping gas into what they think's my engine.
Yeah.
And I remember one guy came over. He says, "I don't know what kind of car this is, but it has to be cool if you got to lift up the hood to put gas up."
Well, this car was definitely the inspiration for my car.
Yeah.
And I got one, but
so we got to drive. So Scott brought his equally rare 05 Turbo S 996, and Jim brought his 2015, was it?
2018 911 Turbo S.
So I let Damon drive that because
I was thinking that I know it's not a comparison, but I'm thinking, well, Manny's driving the 05 Turbo S. Let's put him in the other one.
One of these already. And he had driven the 914, but I wanted him to drive the Turbo S, so he took it out, and it's. I mean, there's nothing wrong with this car. You can't find fault.
Yeah. It's fairly new to the owner. Within, I want to say, it's roughly a year or so. And Jim, the owner, it's a cabriolet. It's a Turbo S, tons of power. And I had driven at Barber, we drove a Turbo S like it, but it was a coupe.
Yeah. Oh, man. You feel like Superman driving that thing.
Yeah, no, it's super quick. And I'm a coupe person. I like cabriolets and convertibles to an extent, but I don't usually see myself owning one unless maybe that's how the car came, like a Boxster. Or a Miata. That's how you get them. But driving that 2018 Turbo S, it's the sound you hear, the turbo noises. It's a totally different experience compared to driving a coupe Turbo S.
So is it 680 horsepower?
This one is 580.
580.
Yeah.
But that's just,
Yeah.
Why would you ever want to chip that? It's just
I wouldn't.
Scott's 444 on his Turbo S.
Yeah.
I'm like, have you gotten to the point where you feel like you need more power?
300 to 400 for the street is the perfect
Go to an
amount of horsepower.
autocross with your really fast car, and when you don't win, that's your answer of whether you
300 to 400
do mods or
horsepower.
not.
So I remember on the track with my 964 race car, we were 247 horsepower, and I'm like, I'm still scaring myself.
Yeah.
I can't imagine 800 horsepower.
Well, I mean, yeah.
On the Autobahn, I can.
Yeah, on the Autobahn. you
Yeah, when
definitely
you're
can.
hitting 180, 190, you need all that horsepower. But it's unfortunately the roads we use and the limited time we have for a 1 mile review doesn't do justice to what these cars can really do.
Yeah.
So Scott kept on asking me when I drove this 996 Turbo S, were you able to really get the boost to come on? I said no. I said, but I know what this car can do, and it's
I got the boost to come on.
pretty amazing. But you can't take it up to all the.
Yeah, you can't take the boost
It was
all
a
the way
quick
to
squirt. It was
Yeah, you
it was,
can't
it was
take
pretty
boost all
much
the way
full
to red line.
throttle
Yeah.
brakes.
Yeah, I
you
mean, that's
know,
what I
it's-
did too, but it's not where.
Yeah.
And I think that's where sometimes the fun factor, cars with that kind of power, their fun factor, is not, for me, on the high scale, because you can't enjoy the car on public roads.
At 914, you can be flat out. If
Yeah.
you were to be able to map your course and see how often you're flat out, the 914, you're more flat out than you can imagine. Where these cars here, it's rare that you're going to be flat out. It's just the power comes on so quickly, and before you know it, you are in a lot of trouble with the law.
All right, so before we bring Jim in, let's get into, I think we've got a bit of news to share from the headlines.
Do you want to? I'm sure Jim's pacing back and forth, and
Yeah.
He can come in and then
Come on
join us
in,
when he's-
Jim.
Come on in, Jim. We're getting in.
See?
See, he was
I knew he was-
right by
he
the
was
Mentioned
door.
I'm like
back
it's
and forth.
11:16.
I feel
Yep,
like
here he
a
is.
doctor. It's probably what
Yes.
doctors do when they see the patients. Just make them wait some
We
more.
still got a bit of news to go through, Jim, but we got time for you. He even took notes. Look at him. He's
I
so
thought he was. I
excited.
asked him just does he want to stop in to give us some predictions. He made a whole PowerPoint presentation, I think, for this.
So what's this Group
So-
C business you were talking about?
You want to go into that? You want to?
Yeah.
Why don't we cover some
Oh, okay.
the videos, recent videos we've done?
Oh, sure.
Yeah, so Boardwalk Reunion, you guys filmed that one at Boardwalk Reunion, 360 Porsches.
And it was in Ocean City, New Jersey.
Yep.
For some reason, we all looked at the video ahead of time. We inspected it, and it never occurred to me to list where we were at. I guess
I did that in the description when I realized, and I was like,
well, we had
is it
a
Atlantic
couple of
City
people
or
commenting
Ocean City?
because there is Ocean City, Maryland, and they have a boardwalk too.
Yeah.
People live around here. I think know that where it's at, but obviously this is going worldwide and all over the.
Do you think
Yeah,
people know
country.
how basic our AV setup is to film this?
No, this was done with Vu's phone,
Yep.
and we have
my
a little
iPhone.
wireless remote.
But it turned out pretty good.
I think people
Yeah.
are pretty disappointed when they see how basic our setup is to do this.
Yep.
We've always been fond of our one-take productions, and we basically walked down and saw, in the staging area, we saw cars that we liked, and we remembered them. And so when we had the cars parked, we walked through and picked which cars we wanted to do. Said we'll do about 30, 45 seconds at the most on each car. And it was.
there were
I
a
thought
lot
it was
of
pretty
beautiful
good.
examples. I mean,
Yeah.
there was everything
Oh
under the
my
sun.
God! Yeah, we could have made a 3-hour video talking about, and that's not even when you start to talk to the owners and you get the stories.
Mm-hmm.
The car suddenly becomes even more interesting. But this gives you a flavor, and if you're near Ocean City, New Jersey, next September, or if you're willing to drive a little bit, I would say register early because
Oh, yeah.
this year it was almost sold out prior.
It'll be sold out
Next year, without a doubt, it will sell out
400
way
cars.
before,
Yeah.
and there's going to be a lot of people who wait too late and they're going to be disappointed.
Yeah. And this is something that's put on, I don't think we mentioned in the video, but it's put on by zones 1 and 2.
correct. Yeah.
So a bunch of regions, sort of in the
Yep.
area. It's not a PCA national event, yet it is. It kind of looks like a PCA national event.
It's
You know,
big. It's huge.
Tons of cars.
Get a lot of representation from
Yeah.
different regions and zones, and it's put on by Bob and Ellen Beck, Bob Gutjahr. They thought of the idea back with the registry, and they did this basically same thing, same formula, driving the cars up on the boardwalk. The Corvettes started this originally, and that's where Bob got the idea from. And the Corvettes have, I think, 400 cars. And I asked him, I said, well, how can they get 400 cars? And he said, well, they basically park them nose to tail. And he said he likes to have some room around them so people can take pictures, and I agree with him. I don't think anybody said if you would have had another 40 cars, the event would have been perfect.
Yeah.
It was. We never even made it to the end.
No,
there were
no.
so many cars.
Yeah.
It was. It was a great event. A one day event. Just come out, hang out, pray that the weather's great like it was for the past 3 years now. And it's $40, I think, a car.
Yeah. Well, and anticipating that it's probably going to sell out, even if you don't get in to park your car on the boards. Like I actually drove up the night before, but I didn't bring my car up on the boards because I had a limited hall pass and I had to get home early. But even if you came up in your car and didn't get on the boards, you still could park, close by and still enjoy the day looking at all these different cars. It was cool to see how many stores, it's off season for the boardwalk, and see how many of the stores were open, and people had a great time. So register early if you want to get on the boards. If you don't, it's still well worth it to drive up and see all the cars and hang out with everyone.
So we also did release Damon's 1 mile review of Kermit,
yeah.
John DeAngelo's, and honors beautiful Conda Green.
Yeah, Conda Green. That's one of the cars you see. If you're doing something on the West Coast with PCA, you've probably seen this car. It really stands out. There are not many in that color. Carrera 4 or Carrera 4 Cabriolet, and he's done some. You could almost walk up to that and say this could be stock. But then you realize, he's done a few things for functionality, like I think lighting or parts of it.
Well, it's got suspension.
But
right?
yeah, the important part is the suspension has PSS 10s, I believe. And then it has Turbo S and roll bars. And it feels pretty much stock, but
Better.
You have to know that you're getting the benefit of lower center of gravity and just a better shock. And it drives beautifully, and it drives newer than the 964 or any of the other earlier air-cooled 911s. It does actually feel like the last air-cooled 911.
Yeah, that's
so
cool.
it was really eye-opening to drive that and realize, that even the air-cooled 911s, all the way from the beginning to the end, there's something shared with even the water-cooled 911s that came afterwards. So Porsche's a Porsche.
It's hard to believe that car is 26 years old.
Yeah.
I drove it back from the shooting site back to Works Reunion where he left it, and it just amazes me that you take other marks of cars that are 26 years old, and they don't look or
feel like
dry.
They've fallen apart by that
This
time.
was very tight. It felt
This had 30-something thousand miles, so really fresh, but still, he drives it a lot. You see it everywhere.
That's well maintained.
Well maintained, yeah.
So if you're keeping up with our podcast on YouTube, we released 33, episode 33 about the boardwalk. And, of course, if you're listening to this, you're already listening to episode 34.
Yep.
So I think so. The news part, this was supposed to be before Jim came in here.
I snuck in.
But we could hear him pacing back and forth. The microphone was picking it up. Did you see the video of the Group C reunion at Leipzig?
No,
It was very
until
cool.
you sent it to me.
Yeah, it was. To me, this is what Rennsport's going to be like. They brought the drivers back, reunited them back with the Group C is the 956, 962 era, and what was neat about this was Porsche built the factory cars, the team cars first, but then they started building cars for customers, and the customers who took it over, and this was actually a financial decision because it was cheaper for Porsche to sell these and then support the teams and sell parts and sell the cars. So you had slew of 962s, 956s racing with the Porsche banner that wasn't done by Porsche. The factory wasn't necessarily funding the effort, and they just dominated. I mean, that's what I got into. I think Jim will talk about it too. It was, to me, it's the coolest cars. That the 917, and I think this is what you're going to be seeing a lot of at Rennsport. So when the recent news came up about F1, and we were talking about how Jim now is he's not dragging, he's not in the dumps anymore, that the Porsche deal was falling apart, that we'd have him won. They give us some of the Hemig predictions that I am privy to every day since I sit next to him. about what's going to happen. So, Jim,
Well, before he gets into it, let's share with people how his persona changed quite a bit for the past couple of weeks. He kind of turned into a hermit. You didn't hear much about him.
We said he
grew this big beard.
He stopped drinking Red Bull.
Yeah, he had his new tattoo zapped off.
Bad stuff about Bachelor stuff.
We asked him about the F1, and he's like, I didn't even watch it.
Yeah, I couldn't even have a conversation because he swore off F1 about the race,
But then he got a call, quote unquote call, and now he's all happy again.
Well, we'll see. It's everything's back and forth. So yeah, you guys asked me, I guess a few weeks ago, my predictions. So I came up with a few predictions. I'm gonna go through them real fast, but hopefully Robert can follow me here with some of the images I sent him. But predictions aren't good unless they're outlandish. So my first prediction, because Manny wanted to talk about Formula One, I'm not going to talk about Formula One. My first prediction is you're going to see a Porsche in a Star Wars movie. Now, maybe some folks have heard a little bit of this, but
We did already.
Well, a couple years ago.
Yeah. So what happened with the rise?
Did you predict that a couple years ago too?
Yes, I did.
Was it in a movie, or was they just did a concept?
So what happened is,
Are we looking at spy shots?
These are spy shots. So I leave that one up there, Robert. So for the Rise of Skywalker Star Wars movie, Porsche designers worked with Lucasfilm's designers and actually came up with a spaceship design. And true to Porsche, form follows function, that they came up with a spaceship that has a lot of the same elements, lights and grills and vents that you see.
Boy,
in some
you
of
are
the
really
Porsche.
stretching it.
Yep. And so they did all this, and they actually created a model and had this, on display in front of the Star Wars movie release, and then it disappeared. But there was, in the summer, in the Obi-Wan Kenobi show, there was this little tiny scene where you get to see the spaceship way off in the distance.
Does it have the Porsche crest or script anywhere on it?
Sure does.
It really?
But no, it doesn't.
I didn't catch that one in Obi-Wan.
But it was an Obi-Wan, so it's like this little tiny thing, and I was the first one on social media to say, "Hey, wait a minute, that's the Porsche spaceship." So
The first one.
my first one.
Why don't we have like 10 million followers?
Yeah. So what's going to happen is in the next round of movies, when they come out in the next few years, you're going to see that ship again, and Manny's going to go, "Wait a minute, didn't Jim say that was going to be?"
We're going to have to go see the movie together because I'm not going to remember.
Oh, my goodness.
I will remind you.
I even watched all this stuff that you're talking about, and I just never even thought about that.
Yeah.
But
I was even
there it is.
contacting some of my sources in Germany, telling them.
Does your wife
And they-
watch this with
they
you, or
didn't
does
even
she
know.
had enough? And
The screenshot was from me pausing it and taking a picture of it on the TV.
you should have taken a selfie like I do in front of it.
Yeah, so that's prediction one. Number two, so yes, I'm getting over this Formula One doldrums that I had the last few weeks. So my second outlandish prediction is you're not going to only see a Porsche engine in Formula One in 2026. You're going to see multiple Porsche engines in Formula One.
Because they're going to blow them up and go
So
through them.
what's going to happen is, this is my prediction. So everyone thinks that the deal's dead, Red Bull's gone, Porsche won't be in Formula One, but my prediction is they're still very, very interested, and you're going to see them purchase a team. Right now, it looks like possibly Williams. They'll purchase 50% of Williams, but you're going to see Porsche engines in other teams' cars, just like with McLaren and Ferrari. And
Maybe, to me, the ultimate poetic justice will be Christian Horner begging Porsche for a F1 engine.
Well,
that would be
funny.
that would be the greatest thing for Drive to Survive. That meeting to take place.
Well, funny you bring that up. So the rumor mill right now is Williams, Haas, Andretti, and believe it or not, AlphaTauri might even be interested in a
interesting.
Porsche
So
engine.
AlphaTauri is the junior
Red Bull team.
Exactly. So their name's on the list of possibly working with Porsche, which is bizarre. But
Yeah.
but my money's on Williams. But I think what you're going to see is exactly what the other teams do. You're going to have a Porsche engine or a Porsche-funded engine.
Yeah.
But
And if it does well, maybe that first season, then they'll step up, right?
I think
Maybe?
it'll be immediate. So
Yeah.
here's what most F1 fans don't realize, that Porsche already has developed a V6, a 1.5 liter V6. So at the very tail end of the 919 era in the World Endurance Championship, Porsche realized that their V4 was not going to carry them forward with the 919. So they developed in secret a 1.5 liter V6 that they were going to run in F1 and in the 919. And what I find really interesting is after Porsche retires something, like the 919, the V4 and that 919, nobody saw that until after it was retired. And then all the covers came off and everybody got to see it. Nobody's seen a picture of that V6 they developed in 2017. But when they had the 919 and they were going to put the V6 in it, they said, we're gonna scrap the 919 project. But Porsche had them finish that V6 because it was earmarked for the new regulations in F1, which got delayed, which now have been ratified for 2026, which is the same ones they built that V6 to. So I think they've got an edge up. So I think it's going to be a surprise. They're going to come out, and next thing you know, they're going to have an engine where'd that come from? So that's my second.
I personally, early on, like probably a year ago, I was not in favor of the Red Bull Porsche partnership, mainly because of Christian Horner. It really worried me about Porsche's reputation because of the fact that if right now Red Bull's on top, which means the only place they got to go now is down. And, there's going to be a blame game. And I remember the first year Drive to Survive with the Renault engines, how he really slammed them. But anyways, I didn't shed a tear when I heard the whole deal went through. I am, however, very excited about Williams. Williams is a last place team right now. So the only place they got to go up is up. And I think Porsche does want control of this team, which is what Horner did not want to give to Porsche for Red Bull. And I think Williams could really benefit. If Red Bull was afraid of the way that Porsche was going to come in and run the team now,
Williams would probably
I
embrace
think
it.
Williams, exactly, they're going to embrace it. And
they probably need leadership after
exactly,
the past couple of years.
And that engineering prowess that Porsche has, I think this is like phenomenal news. And now I'm very excited about Porsche coming back, because even if they bring Williams to mid-pack, it's a huge
win.
accomplishment from where they were. So it's suddenly things have changed. Now, I watch Formula One no matter what, but now I'm really excited to see what
I watched it again last week.
You watched it, you're back. They brought you back.
I'm back.
Yeah.
All right, so
before we move on, there's also another Williams connection to Porsche, and that's the Singer, the lightweight design study.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's already a Porsche connection.
And it's Williams is an American-owned team. I know Haas is too, but
it was British, but then when
sold
Frank
to the
Williams,
American Investment Group, so
it's owned by an investment group, not a Formula One team like Red Bull. So that's where I'm with Manny. I think there could be a real good matchup there.
It'll be it's and they end up with 4 or 5 American races, which is that's what they're talking about. That's going to be. I didn't realize this. To stray away from Jim's topic is, I read an article about how IndyCar is very worried about how, and it never occurred to me, but it makes sense that basically F1 now, with more races in America, is going to be taking fans away from Indy because F1 now has all the exposure, the Drive to Survive, that they're going to take fans away from IndyCar, which I'd hate to see happen because IndyCar is a North American franchise. But very interesting how F1's kind of like slowly snuck into the American market, and now is doing what they always wanted to do, was capture the attention of the North American market.
And that's why Porsche, which again, my prediction, it's Porsche. U.S. market's huge for Porsche, so all this F1. But I'll put 3 and 4, my predictions 3 and 4 kind of together. So I'm going to go bold here and say that Porsche is going to leave GTP and LMDH.
If they're all into Formula One, I could
They kind of have
potentially
to.
see
When
that.
when are they going to leave? When are they going to leave?
Yeah, so let me qualify that. So what's going to happen, this is my prediction, it's exactly to Manny's point. So the 919, that was strictly a factory effort. They made just enough 919 for the factory to run in the World Endurance Championship and, of course, win Le Mans 3
And it was
years
a
in a
very
row.
complicated car.
Very
It was very
complicated.
complicated.
So my prediction is they're going to go back to the page out of their Group C book, their 962. So the 963, the Porsche Penske team is going to run it for I'm going to say 2 years max, and then they're going to just sell them off and have the privateers, the customer teams, run. So I think they're going to pull a page out of that 962 book. So you're going to see Porsche come in and basically use Penske as a showroom floor to all the privateers and say, look at this car we built. And And I don't know if you mentioned this earlier in the podcast, but Porsche Penske just ran a 36-hour test with the 963 at Sebring. They had 10 different drivers running across 36 hours, and that's just showing that market that, hey, look, no other LMDH car is tested like that, and this is the car to buy. And the JDC Miller team, I think we got a picture of that car. That'll be the first privateer, the first customer car running. And right now it looks like because of supply chain issues, it may not be at Daytona in January. But shortly thereafter...
The customer, but the factory will.
Yeah, the factory Penske's will be
yeah.
there, but the JDC Miller team may not be there with the 963. But I'm hoping it makes it. But if it does, that'll be the first GTP car that's a customer team running in IMSA. The Jota team over in the World Endurance Championship will be the first 963. So what I'm predicting is Porsche is going to be all in as a factory team, but it will quickly sell those. I think Porsche's gambling that the 963, the GTP era of963 next year, will be another decade-long era of racing like the 963.
And it'll run itself via customers. Porsche makes some money.
They don't pull out.
Yeah.
What they do is they hand it over to. Well, Jürgen Barth was in charge of customer racing back in the 962 days, and when I did the article about the C4 lightweight, he explained that the C4 lightweight took so long to build all 22 examples. They were hand making them because midway through production, they get an order for 20 956s or 962s. From Japan. They suddenly wanted to have their own series way after the 962 had run its course. So they put the lightweight on hold and they build, once again, by hand. So, Jim's point, the factory pulls out as a factory team effort, but they have a whole different, like you were mentioning, a whole different department now just supporting it. Yeah. And Porsche Motorsports, North America, still supports the 962. Wow. I mean, if you have a 962, you can ship. You buy parts from them, and you can ship your engine and transmission to California, and they rebuild it.
Yeah.
So how many teams do that? You think? I mean, I don't know, but does Nissan have a department where they can rebuild their GTP cars?
Well, and you're going to see where I'm going with this my predictions have a theme. So, Formula E, same thing. Next year will be Porsche's last factory effort, is my prediction. They only committed to run through next year. So the new Formula E car, this is a third gen. This will be the third gen Formula E chassis, and the 99X Porsche Formula E car. This will be the last one for next year. And then what you're going to see is Andretti is going to run the same car next year in Formula E. And my prediction is it'll be the last of a Porsche factory Formula E next year. But you'll see Porsche carry forward in Formula E with customers.
Because Porsche can't be they can't have a factory Formula One effort and a factory like 919 effort from back in the day.
That's my point. Is what I'm predicting, which this is not like rocket science or anything, but my prediction is between the Formula E, the GTP, the 963, and then of course the 911 GT3R. They're all going to be customer cars. Just like you go to the showroom floor and buy a 911 for the street, they're going to have this whole slate of race cars that privateers will run, which will basically fund Porsche's racing program and help them focus their energy on Formula One. But then the last one I have to add, because I like to add this just to annoy Manny. So you're going to see this all the way down to the bicycle level, where
we're really stretching.
Now we're stretching. So my last prediction is so Porsche bought not only a bicycle.
You want to put a plug in for your bicycle Facebook group?
Of course.
Is there how many people are on there now?
100.
100.
we just got to 100,
and 10 of them are PCA staff.
So Porsche, this is the most wild prediction, but you'll see this is all going to happen. So Porsche bought not only a bicycle company, they bought an electric bicycle motor company, and you're going to see Porsche bicycles coming out in the near future with an electric motor that you can actually pop off. You can take that right out of the bike and ride it without. You can put it back in. But you'll start seeing other companies like Trek and Specialized. You're going to see other bicycle companies powered by Porsche. So believe it or not, that's my last prediction.
All right,
I don't
folks.
believe it. Actually, that could work. I can see that happening.
Yeah, that is Porsche's racing future, according to Jim Hemig.
Yeah.
Yes, and now Jim can go back to watching Formula One, and
Life is good.
Hopefully,
they drew him back in. That
They
was
did.
classic.
It
They
was
drew him
fun.
right back
Now
in.
we got to wait because remember, this nothing signed. We thought the Red Bull was all signed, and thank God he didn't get that tattoo he was talking about. But I like it. Well, it'll be exciting to watch it.
So we didn't mention though yet that the Porsche, it seems like, will be in Formula One. The FIA actually said they're still looking around.
Yeah.
So this is not all conjecture. It's basically a matter of which team are they going to pair with.
Yep.
So
I think they've
so.
prepared a lot already. I don't think this is a random, hey, if we get it, we'll start working on it. Like Jim said, they've been working on that engine. They've got things in place. I think people are going to be surprised how advanced they are.
Even little things. They upgraded their wind tunnel significantly in 2015 to basically airplane speeds.
Wow.
And it's like, well, why did they do that? It's like there's a lot of little things going on behind the scenes that most people don't realize.
Yeah, it'll be fun between spy photos,
Who's rolling his eyes at me?
spy photos out of England,
The kind
or,
of stuff we talk about here all day.
or spy photos out of Wysock. It'll be interesting to see as this progresses with Porsche.
All right, folks, I'm going to wrap it up. Thanks for listening. If you aren't currently a PCA member and you own a Porsche, grab that VIN and head over to pca.org. Or if you don't own a Porsche yet, we have the test drive program. Try that out. Remember to follow our podcast Instagram page, behind the scenes photos and videos, Porsche Club Insider, all one word. And you can always email us at podcast@pca.org or comment on the YouTube podcast video sections. Until next time, stay safe and we'll catch you down the road.